Remember when everybody was criticizing the Xbox Series S and people were like, they need to get rid of it, it's holding back Xbox. And I think that criticism was not necessarily incorrect. There obviously were cases where that turned out to be true. A prime example of that was Baldur's Gate 3, how it didn't initially launch everywhere because of the parity rule. Phil Spencer had to get involved and remove that parity rule. And I think Xbox has done a pretty decent job since then. Well, fast forward a few years. Now we're talking about the Xbox handheld. It's definitely coming. And lo and behold, come to find out that it looks like there's huge potential here for Xbox to take advantage of the Series S profiles for video games with their handheld. And at least according to Digital Foundry, that gives Xbox an advantage in the handheld space when that comes up, because you've already done this with all your games. Developers have already done this. They've not done that or had to do that with the PlayStation. Really interesting how it's come full circle. Come to find out, the Series S is going to benefit Xbox when it comes to handhelds. I think the Series S and Series X having two entry points has always been good. I think where they had to work through issues, and maybe still are continuing to work through those, is demanding the parity between them with everything. And I don't think that's a necessity. I think they learned that. I know when I'm playing my Series S that it's a lesser machine. I expect to get lesser results. Same with the Series X. I expect to get better results. If you think about it, Xbox has decided not to do a refresh this generation. The PlayStation has gone with the PS5 Pro, and it's because Xbox kind of already has that in place. The Series X is their Pro. The Series S is their standard. Like that is kind of already there. Anyways, regardless, let's go over what this means, what Digital Foundry is saying with regards to the advantage with handhelds, how the Series S is going to affect that, and then we'll talk about it a little. Before we do though, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. We drop videos like this all the time. This is at purexbox.com. Let's jump into it. Xbox handheld has a big potential advantage thanks to the Series S, at least compared to its Sony competitor. It's common knowledge that Xbox is at least considering making a handheld device, and apparently Sony is as well. And although the Series S has had its critics at times, it could end up being extremely useful for such a device. Recently, the folks at Digital Foundry were discussing how the lower specs of the Series S could serve as a benchmark of sorts for an Xbox handheld, whereas PlayStation doesn't have anything similar to fall back on as things stand. Here's a tweet from Zach and Clute, where he shares the video from the Digital Foundry podcast, where they point out that Sony will have a harder time producing a handheld due to the lack of the Series S SKUs. Here, let me see if I can play this sound if it comes through and how it comes through for you guys, and we can take a listen.
Microsoft also has the ability, depending upon how they do it, to lean into Xbox Series S profiles for games, which typically run at, like, depending on the game, 720p to 1080p resolution, or even lower, obviously. Typically run at half the frame rate, typically do not have the ray tracing options that are there on the Series X, if they are there. And they can technically lean into those profiles for a handheld for backwards compatibility purposes. I don't know if they're going to do that, but Sony never had an Xbox Series S, which forced developers to make these low-end profiles for games. And in which case, if they bring out a handheld, I think it would be almost like a Sony VR2, where it would have to have its own versions of games after the fact, after it came out, or via patches after it came out, when it came into existence. So it would be like a new lower-end PS5 in that aspect, that is mobile, and it doesn't have the full BC catalog, maybe other than PS4 games. But like the original PS5 titles and a lot of those other things that didn't have PS4 games, they would either be forced into have, like, I don't know. I don't think they couldn't do it like Microsoft could potentially do it.
And there you go. Really interesting talking points there. This article continues. Then Windows Central editor Jez Corden chimed in, revealing that according to his Xbox sources, Microsoft is using the Series S to inform their decisions as they work on prototypes for whatever this Xbox handheld could be, which is really interesting because you have, hey, we want to at least hit the specs of the Series S. And if you could do that in a handheld, it's beautiful. That is beautiful. Here's what Jess Corden said. Spoke to Xbox sources directly about the Xbox Series S performance target informing their decisions while prototyping the Xbox handheld. Xbox Series S was always the right choice. Interesting, because a few months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, that wasn't necessarily the thought process. A lot of people, including journalists, now saying that it's the right choice. We're saying this may have been a mistake. The Xbox Series S may have been a mistake. I never thought that. I thought that holding the parity line was the mistake, especially, and I didn't even think it initially. I didn't think it until we saw the results of that with like a Baldur's Gate, how it was delayed because of the parity. They eventually waived some of those requirements, and Baldur's Gate was able to make its way. But having two entry points into a next generation of hardware was always a good move. It was always a smart move. Having a cheaper option, more expensive option, always a smart move. And you've seen the results of that. And now you're seeing why it's a smart move going forward with a handheld device. Very cool. Wrapping up here at purexbox.com, obviously it's not as simple as cramming the Xbox Series S internals into a handheld and calling it a day, but clearly it's providing at least some benefits for Microsoft as the team attempts to work out what lies ahead in the handheld space. For now, it's been made clear that the focus from a handheld perspective is to make the Xbox app as intuitive as possible on existing devices, but we're still hoping we might get more details about a dedicated handheld in 2025. So, Pure Xbox right there, just talking about how the goal is to make, for instance, on the ROG Ally, and this article has a picture of the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck, etc., making the Xbox app as seamless as possible, as efficient as possible, work as well as possible on these other handhelds. Now, the benefit you're going to get from an Xbox native handheld is the same benefit you get from a console over a PC. It's going to be built to run efficiently for games. Games are going to be designed for that operating system. And then as a developer, you don't need to make separate handheld tweaks. You just need to follow what you're already following for the Xbox, for your Xbox game anyways. And then it just ports straight into, for instance, the Xbox handheld. As a consumer, as a player, it just works. It works well. So it's very exciting. I am all in on a handheld. You guys that doubt the handheld or the power of a handheld, let me clarify two things, because there's some misconceptions out there still. If you follow this channel, you're not misinformed. You actually know everything there is to know about the Xbox. Xbox is not stopping a hardcore base console. That is coming next generation. But what is going to also complement it is a handheld device of some sort, which will not just be a streaming device. It will have that capability, but Phil Spencer has said what he feels is needed in a handheld space is absolutely local play, being able to directly download onto the device and play it straight from the device, not just having streaming like the PlayStation Portal, which I actually think the PlayStation Portal has been a pretty successful experiment for PlayStation, and seeing what lessons that PlayStation can learn and where they're going to take their handheld here in the future. Regardless, I do think Xbox is vindicated a little bit here with the Series S, in that you can see now how having these two structures is benefiting them going forward. Once again, I would like to reiterate this. Yes, I am an Xbox fanboy. Yes, it's where I play, but I apply logic to that. And what I would like to reiterate here is decisions being made now, decisions being made 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago. These are all being done for the future. And while maybe it wasn't intended this way, the decision of having a Series S looks like it is benefiting Xbox in some way when it comes to the future of having a handheld. We'll see how it all plays out in the end. Regardless, I'm very excited for a handheld. I would love to know what you guys think, though. Are you looking forward to an Xbox handheld? Are you not? Do you think you'll be getting one? I know for myself, I'll both get the console and I will get the handheld. That handheld just has the potential to increase my gameplay time and percentage infinitely. And I'm very much looking forward to it. But would love to know what you guys, do you think it's a waste of money? Are you looking forward to it? Will you only be getting a handheld? That's going to be interesting. Who only gets, I think kids, like as a family device, a handheld is fantastic, that kids don't take up a television. So maybe kids go handheld only as well if you have a family. Myself, I'll be getting both. But I'm not representative, I think, of an average gamer. But yeah, we'd love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Again, don't forget that like button, subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.